Hello and a very warm welcome to today's LinkedIn Live, discussing employee advocacy and how companies and employees can use LinkedIn for mutual benefit. Thank you for joining us. If you don't know me, my name's Lynnaire Johnston, and my Linkability team and I help companies and organisations leverage LinkedIn to achieve their professional goals. I've written 2 books about LinkedIn and often appear on lists of LinkedIn experts internationally. Among a variety of LinkedIn services that my team and I offer is our Linkability membership site, linkability.biz. If you're looking to learn more about LinkedIn to build your brand or your business, become a recognized expert in your field, or network with like-minded professionals, our member site will help. It has oodles of content, is free to look around for 7 days, and membership costs only a few dollars a month. Plus, we have a private LinkedIn group just for members where I add tips and ideas that don't appear anywhere else. We'd love you to pop over and take a look, and you'll find the link for that in the chat. Now, I've been wanting to talk about today's topic for a while now, because this year I've seen firsthand how difficult it is to persuade employees to embrace LinkedIn in any kind of meaningful way. It's taken until now to secure a spot on our live calendar to talk to today's advertised guest, Jack Burke. We've been working with Jack when he's been at different companies over the past few years, but now as head of community and strategic engagement, he's been in a position to champion LinkedIn to very good effect. Jack works for RCP, an international project development company headquartered in Auckland, New Zealand. RCP's project managing the building of the Symphony Centre in Midtown Auckland, and it's in the Aotea Arts Quarter near the Town Hall. Symphony will be New Zealand's first vertical village and sit atop a subway station that will open next year. It's a huge project with international backers. Now, we set up in December a company page specifically for this project, and ever since we've been attracting new followers with posts about different aspects of the project. Some of these have included posts about others working on the project, one of which has resulted in an RCP staff member being invited to speak at a national conference, which is being held today. Unfortunately, Jack's father died very suddenly, very recently, and he's unable to join us today. But because this topic has been very much on my mind, we decided to go ahead and talk about it anyway. Before we get started, I welcome any comments or questions you might have that will help develop the discussion. Also, you are most welcome to share your experiences in the comments. Speaking of which, our team members, Cher Ferguson and Gillian Moore, are both in the chat there to ensure that everything runs smoothly. So let's get underway. How companies and employees can use LinkedIn for mutual benefit. There is a problem, and if you run a company page, I have no doubt that you have seen it too. Employees just don't support the company's LinkedIn efforts. And there are a number of reasons why that can happen, and today we're going to look at those and have a think about some solutions. So the first reason that you may find that there is not much engagement on your LinkedIn company page posts by your employees is simply lack of knowledge. Now, most people will still see LinkedIn as being a platform for recruitment and job hunting. It's quite rare to find employees who have a really good profile, who are active on the platform and have built a good network. But if you've got some of those, you really should nurture them. Most people, by contrast, really just have a LinkedIn profile as a placeholder, as their online CV, because they simply don't know any different. Another reason is that lack of training on LinkedIn best practices can hamper people from engaging on content. They simply don't know how. They don't know what to say. They don't want to get into any kind of trouble. They feel it's best just to, at the best, give a post a like and move on. So no training on LinkedIn can also be a factor. When there's no encouragement to build a personal brand, that will also restrict what the advocacy that your employees will give you, simply because they're not quite sure whether there'll be any reward. There's probably not any reward. Why should they bother? What's in it for them? And perhaps there's not any points so far as they can see that. And so if they aren't encouraged to build their own personal brand, become experts in their own right, then they probably won't understand LinkedIn. They probably won't see the point, and they definitely won't be getting involved with what you're doing on LinkedIn. But if you've got one of those people who really is doing something great on LinkedIn already, then you need to be supporting their posts, because if there's no support of their posts, how can you possibly expect them to support yours? The law of reciprocity is in action on LinkedIn. Also, if your employees are doing really great work outside LinkedIn, then write about them. If they're doing great work in your company, write about them. Feature posts about your team members, and that will definitely get them moving along. When you have posts that have employees that have written great posts, but unfortunately they have run into trouble with legal, with comms, or with HR, then those posts are not going to see the light of day, and there are going to be some ramifications for you in terms of the advocacy that they are going to give you. So it's an important thing to think about how to manage that. And the other reason that you often find lack of employee engagement is disengaged employees. They don't care about your company as much as you do. Let's have a look at some of these in a bit more detail. When your employees don't know much about LinkedIn, it's pretty hard to expect them to get involved. They may not realize, for instance, that they are missing out on opportunities by not having a really good profile. Their profile will be incomplete. It might have no banner, no photo, and very little information, or it might just have their CV and very little else. In which case, that's not a very good reflection on your company. And if they are attached to your company and your company is showing up here in the experience section at the top of their profile, but their profile isn't great, then that is an issue for you. Also, if they don't have a very big network or a very poor network, then you aren't going to get much traction from them with your posts. You want to be encouraging your employees who've got good, strong networks to be engaging on your posts so that their network will see your posts. If there's little or no activity from them, if they're not reaching out to connect to people, if they're not dealing with incoming invites, or they're not posting or commenting or even liking other people's posts, and in fact there's very little activity on LinkedIn, it should be a red flag that there needs to be some work done to helping them understand better how to use LinkedIn. This can often come down to a lack of training. Now, if they don't understand how the platform works, then they're simply not going to care. If they don't know what's in it for them or why they should get involved and how to build or create a personal brand, then they're really not going to want to get out there and sing and dance about how fantastic you are as a company. So training your staff on how LinkedIn works, what best practice looks like, and how to really build their personal brand is something that is going to make a difference. But if you don't give them any encouragement to build that presence or even actively discourage it, then you are wasting opportunities, because your employees are, of course, your biggest asset. And if you can persuade them to build a presence on LinkedIn, which is only going to be good for them, and they can see what's in it for them, then that's going to be very good for you as an organization as well. Now, when your employees are seen as experts in their own right, then that reflects well on the company as a whole. It means that their people that they are working with in terms of their potential clients, maybe, or people, their suppliers, depending on what their role is with the company, those that they're interacting with on LinkedIn will then see their posts, their presence, and hopefully then your posts and your presence as well. And that's what opens the door to new business. So encouraging your team to build a presence, to be seen as thought leaders, and to develop a personal brand on LinkedIn is only going to be good for you. But if you don't support their posts, if they are active and you're one of those lucky companies that's got employees who are active on LinkedIn, then this is a really good thing to be doing, is supporting your employees' posts. Now, that's immaterial whether or not they're talking about you as a company in their posts. You still want to be supporting their posts. Now, they might be writing about something completely different. We've got a good friend and a connection in Auckland who works for a major paint company, and she writes about diversity and inclusion and also immigration on her own personal LinkedIn post. She doesn't represent the company on her posts at all, but she has built up a personal brand based on her values and what's important to her. And that is a really good network for her company to be seen supporting. So if you don't support your company, your employees' posts, then that is a problem, because how can you expect them to support you if you are not supporting them? So don't forget that not supporting them sends a negative message to those employees, and if they're good ones, you really do want to support them. On top of that, the missed opportunities abound. And don't forget too that you might be in the market for some new employees and want to be recruiting some really high quality talent. If you look good out there in the marketplace by supporting your employees' posts, then that is one reason why they might decide they want to come and work for you. As I mentioned earlier on, there can be a bit of an issue sometimes with those employees who do want to post about their work potentially or what they're doing by running into trouble with HR, legal, or comms. Now, sometimes this comes down to the social media policies of the company. In the bad old days when, before social media, companies didn't need to have policies, but now they do. Although in some cases, a lot of cases potentially, those policies haven't kept up with the modern times. And those modern times include employees getting on social media. Now, whether they do it under their own name or under a different name or hide behind an avatar, you want them on LinkedIn to be seen as someone who is advocating for your company. By putting social media policies in place that make this really difficult, then that is going to discourage encourage them. Now, I'm not talking here about them sharing confidential information or information you don't want to get out into the public arena. Some good training on the use of LinkedIn and how you as a company want to be using LinkedIn and want them to be using LinkedIn is essential and will stop that particular problem. But just stopping people by silencing them and telling them they cannot post on LinkedIn produces some problems of its own. Don't forget, your employees' LinkedIn profiles belong to them, not you as the company. They own them, and what they decide to put on them is largely up to them. Now, I'm a carrot rather than a stick person, and I really believe that by encouraging people to do the right thing, to upskill them in ways that you want them to use LinkedIn, then you will find that they will not let you down. They'll do the right thing by you, and you can then trust them to be putting material on social media that you want to have out there. Because by silencing your employees, you are losing more and more opportunities. Now, earlier in the year, we wrote an article about a woman that works for Jack's company and placed it on the Symphony Centre page, which got this lady a lot of attention. So she's an associate director of the company, and we wrote a lovely article about the kind of work that she's done, a bit about her background, some of the ideas that she's got around her work, and it got her a lot of attention. So much so that today she is presenting at a national conference in Auckland, because she's been invited to speak on the back of this LinkedIn article. Now, your employees are your biggest asset, and when you don't write posts about them, then they can feel ignored, they can feel disrespected, and generally just feel a bit demoralized. It is another wasted opportunity to reach out to a new audience. Now, if you are writing about your employees in a non-business sense, so as I said earlier, if they're out there in the community doing community work, that is still a really good opportunity for you to be supporting their posts and showing that you as an organization share the same values that they do. Of course, if your employees are generally disengaged, that is, they're only coming into work for the paycheck, then expecting them to advocate for you on LinkedIn is not really going to be something that's a realistic goal. They don't care about your company like you do. Nobody cares about your company like you do. And so if you are a business owner or a director of a company, then leading by example and showing people how they can do this is one of those things that works really well. But the disengaged employee problem is something that is really well beyond the scope of this discussion today. And people do need to see what's in it for them if you are going to involve them on LinkedIn in any kind of way. So my suggestion is to really look at your employees and see how they're feeling generally before inviting them to take part in what you're doing on LinkedIn. Now, we've talked about some pretty negative stuff, and I didn't really mean it to sound quite like that today. So I want to now turn my attention to some solutions, some ways that you can circumvent some of these problems and really get your employees involved in what you're doing on LinkedIn. Well, the first thing is, if you're a leader of a company or an owner of the company, being on LinkedIn yourself and active and building your network is a great way to lead by example. You can hardly expect your employees to be doing this if you are not. because it just shows them what can be done, the opportunities that might arise, because you can talk about those as a result of what you are doing on LinkedIn. Having all people in your organization who are championing, you would never get this one right, who are really in it for LinkedIn, who really want to make LinkedIn work for your company. They're really good people to get on board with and get on your side and make sure they know how you want this to work for your organization. Leading by example is a really great way to get people on your side. Training and upskilling. Now, it doesn't cost a great deal to upskill your team on LinkedIn, and training them on what to do, on why it's beneficial for them and what they'll get out of it really is a no-brainer. Show them how to build a strong network on LinkedIn. Show them what a compelling LinkedIn profile looks like, and show them how they can get active and support your organization by really improving their own presence. Because the more encouragement and support you can give your team members, the more they will reward you when it comes to LinkedIn. And if you ditch those rules and the fear of what will happen if people do make a mistake on LinkedIn, well, then you'll find that people will feel much more comfortable about giving it a try. Look, no one's perfect. We all make mistakes, and everyone is inclined from time to time to mess it up. But the world is not going to end, and you'll find that there are solutions to all the problems that anything that goes wrong might show up. So really, in all, it's not exactly the bad thing to do is to have a new look at how you are doing LinkedIn, how you are encouraging your employees on LinkedIn, and making sure that they have all the skills that are necessary to be able to do it well. Now, we talk a lot in my circles and my colleagues about employee advocacy, and I think that's completely the wrong way round. I think we need to think of it as employer advocacy. If we as employers are advocating for our employees, if we are out there supporting them on LinkedIn and we're encouraging them, then it's going to be a better result for us. So let's switch this around. And that's the final message I want to leave with you today. Let's switch this around and think of not what can our employees do for us. Let's think about what we can do for our employees, and apologize for monopolizing that particular well-known saying. And so if you have any more ideas about LinkedIn, about LinkedIn advocacy or employer advocacy, we would love to hear about it. Please do message us. Please do connect to me if you are not already haven't already done so. Follow me for more content about LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn here almost every day, and we have an event here almost every week. Sometimes it's a LinkedIn Live like today, and other times it is an audio event. And that, in fact, is what we have got lined up for you for next week. You'll find us back here on LinkedIn at 1 o'clock New Zealand time next Thursday, where we will have an audio event for you featuring all the new LinkedIn updates and changes. And then from there, we'll have another LinkedIn Live coming up after that. Thank you so very much for joining us today. I am very sorry that we weren't able to bring Jack to you. We will endeavour to do so on another occasion. But I hope you did find that there were some ideas there and a new way perhaps to think about employee advocacy on your LinkedIn presence. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.